It's often said that we are living in the most difficult times today, with geopolitical instability, economic inequality, climate change, social unrest. But compared to some of the most devastating periods in human history, 536 to 540 AD, the volcanic winter and plague of Justinian; 1347 to 1351, the Black Death in Europe; 1939 to 1945, the Second World War. Compared to these periods, can we truly consider today the worst era? Why or why not? We are actually living in a very good era. There are some parts of the world where people are obviously facing terrible circumstances. A lot of Africa is like that. See, when we discuss the world, we kind of disregard Africa, right? But Africa is part of the world. But overall, if you look at Eurasia, if you look at the Americas, North and South America, if you look at Oceania, Australia, etc., if you look at China, Russia, Japan, all these countries, there's relative prosperity everywhere. There's no major war that's happening. Ukraine is like we discussed, a frozen conflict. Apart from Ukraine, apart from the situation in Sudan, etc., in Africa, it's always, yeah. But apart from that, there's no major devastating disaster that's happening right now. There's been no major devastating war since 1945. Okay, Korea happened, sure. Iran, Iraq happened, sure. But these were localized conflicts. The 4 India-Pakistan wars happened, again, localized conflicts. India-China, again, no localized conflict. There's been no major devastation. There's been no major pandemic since 1918. I mean, well, we had one recently, which was kind of not nice, to put it mildly, but it did not have anything near the effect that you had in the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic. The coronavirus was nothing like that. Mortality rate was much lower, death toll was much lower, and so on. So overall, you had many periods of time in the world where things were way, way, way worse than what we have today. Of course, there's geopolitical instability. That's always part of the menu. Right now, it's more than usual, but it is what it is. Economic inequality. There's always economic inequality. Inequality is a feature of the universe. It's a feature, it's a permanent feature of existence, inequality. Every nation, no matter how prosperous, is going to have inequality. But what you need is social mobility, which means that, okay, it's an unequal world, can't do a thing about that. But let's say someone's poor. They should have the means to become prosperous. If you're poor, you should not be condemned to poverty for the rest of your life. If the society that you live in gives you the means and the avenues for bettering your standard status in life, then it's a fair society. Inequality is going to be there. Yeah. So inequality, what's the big deal? I mean, it's always been there. Climate change, the climate has always changed. There's always been climate change. Social unrest, I can show you periods of time when you had tremendous social unrest. Nothing, I mean, way more compared to today. So, we are actually living in one of the most prosperous times, prosperous periods of history in the world. If you're living outside Africa, if you're in Africa, well, I'm sorry to say, yeah, things are bad there. Yeah. But yeah, in the West, especially when they discuss the world, they don't talk about Africa because of what they've done to it. So anyway, if you disregard the situation in Africa, many parts of Africa, then overall things are good. And even in Africa, things are kind of better than in the 19th century when the Europeans destroyed Africa, devastated Africa. So it's not that bad in Africa also. So this is not the worst era. I do not consider this to be the worst era by a long stretch, not at all.